Have you ever wondered who built the robot villagers? I asked that question months ago, and after reading through the comments, I decided to make a part 2 to talk about new discoveries and theories about the robot villagers that you all made. So after months of editing, losing progress, files, being in pain, and getting back to editing, it's finally finished. So if you're new here, and you haven't watched part 1, I would recommend doing so by pressing that I in the top right to get up to speed. So with that being said, now before we get started with any new comments, new discoveries, or theories, I want to talk about something that I forgot to state in the previous video. And that is that Dell's color scheme and windows on the side of his head are referencing and based off a battleship named the Yamato. And not to mention that Dell's name in the Japanese version of Animal Crossing is actually Yamato as well. So that it's pretty clear that Dell's design is based off the Yamato. However, for some reason, a huge handful of people say with no doubt in their statement that Dell is a boat. Well, actually, there's a little bit of doubt because some people say they couldn't remember whether Dell was a boat or a plane. And I gotta say, I wonder where that Mandela effect of Dell being a plane came from, because I looked around to see where this could have been mentioned and I really couldn't find anything. If you have any knowledge to why this is, maybe it's from a previous game, something really well hidden that I can't find, please tell me down below because I sort of want to know. But to go back to the whole Dell is a boat topic, at first I was going to disagree with that because, I mean, if you take a look at a picture and the definition of a boat, and you compare it to Dell, I don't think those two go well together. However, in the spirit of this entire series, it actually made me wonder and question, what if Dell actually is a boat? Because on the surface level, Dell just looks like a robotic alligator. But what if deep down in his programming, he actually has the ability to transform into a boat? Albeit Dell would probably be a very small boat instead of a battleship, but it's still a boat regardless. And let's just say if that's too far-fetched and Dell actually can't transform into a boat, well, whoever Dell's creator is must have taken inspiration from the actual battleship Yamato. And if you think about it, it means that in the world of Animal Crossing lore, the battleship Yamato existed in some time and place. But I don't think I'll get too far into that. But you know, in the previous video, I was hoping we'd all agree that Ribot would run on protein powder, since he's a jock villager and all. But I guess everyone somehow decided that Dell is a boat. And you know what? That's the way to go. At first I may have disagreed and said that he's based off a battleship, but in the end, maybe Dell is actually a boat. And we'll just never know. So to get started with a very intriguing discovery, in the previous video I asked if there was only some way to see what was underneath the robot villager's clothes, to see if there was some kind of on and off switch or even a battery slot. But luckily, I was sent some models ripped straight from Animal Crossing by Petrach11 and Foxy Gaming 4 on Twitter. Go follow them, I appreciate the support and help. And I mean, just take a look at them. Sprocket has a very similar little hatch on his torso, just like Ribot, which could mean he also runs on protein powder, considering he is a jock villager, and everything below his waist just seems to be organic. There's no nuts and bolts or panels holding him together. As for Dell, there really isn't many visible panels or screws like the other robot villagers, but it does seem that he has a few grooves on his shoulders, legs, and tail. But unlike the others, it seems Dell has slightly smaller versions of windows on his back. What I'm still trying to figure out is what the windows are even used for, because they could easily just be for aesthetic reasons, but why does Ribot have them? And why does Dell also have smaller versions of them on his back? They could be some kind of exhaust port, considering Dell is a cranky villager, so sometimes he just needs to let out a little bit of steam. But why does he have hidden windows on his back? Would these also be exhausts, or are they the battery slots I've been looking for this whole time? I'm not entirely sure, but if we move on to Ribot and take a look at his back, he may not have vents like Dell, but it seems that he's the only one with a power switch on his back. And if you don't think that's a switch, make sure to tell me down in the comments, because I don't know what else it could be. Because to me, it clearly looks like a power switch, like an on and off switch that you could just flick up and down, you know? But let's say if we were to accidentally flip off the power switch, would that mean Del would stop working? And does he still even run on protein powder? I really don't know. But with that, the mystery of what's hiding underneath the clothes of the robot villagers has been solved. But moving on to the next discovery, this was brought to me by Kuan Yo in a comment that said, if you go to Harv's Island and pick up the robot villagers and move them around, they will emit a clang noise. So what I did is I went to Harv's Island and put all the robot villagers down, and also put my other villagers and moved them around, only to find out that that is very much true. If you move around any robot villager, they make a little metallic shifting noise, while the other villagers don't. Now it makes me wonder if there's any villagers out there who make different noises, such as Coco and Hopkins. And I wonder if there's any villager out there who makes the metallic noise when they're moved. Does that mean they're a secret robot villager? Well, if anyone finds out any villagers who make metallic noises when moved around, make sure to also tell me, because I'm only limited to 10 other villagers, so keep an eye out for me, alright? Now let's get to the next discovery, which was brought up by Trinity Redman, and no, that's not me. But they said, why doesn't Ribot use an umbrella? And I didn't know that, so as per usual, I went to do some research, and Ribot doesn't use an umbrella. However, that's because in Animal Crossing, apparently all the frog villagers don't need an umbrella when it rains. But it would have been a neat little touch to see Ribot use an umbrella when it rains to not risk short-circuiting. Unless if you look at it through a lore's perspective, Ribot just has a very well sealed robotic frame, which is why he doesn't need an umbrella and can just walk around in the rain. But now moving on to the final discovery, it was brought to my attention from Jammy Plays, who said Ribot once talked about his mom to me. So after reading that comment, I went to talk to one of my robot villagers, but to my surprise, when I went to talk to Del, he was sick. And look, I know I'm overlooking this, considering it is a game mechanic for all the villagers to get sick. But still! Does it mean anything? Probably? I'm not entirely sure for now, but after Del was roaming around and feeling much better, I talked to him once again, and he started to talk about how he's been chasing around bugs ever since he was a kid, and that he had memories of going around catching these bugs. And once again, I gotta bring it up and say it like before. This could probably just be exclusive dialogue for cranky villagers reminiscing the old days. Or just dialogue for all the villagers who have a net equipped. But at the same time, if we look at it with some lore lenses, this just means these three have memories of being kids, have families, can get sick, and, well, they have emotions, considering they teach us reactions. So what does that make them? Robots? Cyborgs? Androids? Were they implemented with the ability to feel nostalgic about false memories? Or is that actually their past before they were transformed into cyborg animals? Well, like I said, we'll never really know, considering these are just game dialogue and mechanics for every single villager, and there's a huge amount of villagers, so I'll probably have to dig around and see if there's different dialogue or exclusive dialogue for certain types of villagers. But you know what? That brings me to the next topic. Now when it comes to looking for theories in the comments from you, I sadly won't be able to get to every single one, which I apologize for. But I am going to try to talk about the ones that had the most people talking about the same idea, such as this one. All the villagers are robots. And as far-fetched as it may seem, I'll let the comments take care of it, because everyone who commented would say all the villagers being robots could explain why there are duplicate villagers in many different islands, which explains why if you visit a different island, there could be a villager you have. And when it comes to villagers that leave your island to somebody else's, and you visit that said island, your villager might not recognize you or remember you because they were run through some kind of factory reset. So in the end, all the villagers might as well just be robot, cyborg, android animals of some kind, with fur and flesh to cover their metallic bodies, while Del, Sprocket, and Ribot are just earlier models, which is why they look like robots. Does that still sound a little bit far-fetched? Because if we move on to the next theory, it's quite similar to the last one with a twist, because Exploding Pumpkins brought up the idea of, instead of all the villagers being robots, what if we were the robot all along? And as Pumpkin states, we arrive onto the island not knowing how to show any kind of reaction or emotion until we are taught by our villagers. And we don't need to eat, because if we do, it turns into powerhouses which allows us to shatter rocks and carry entire trees. So are we truly the robot villagers? I don't know. But moving on to the next small theory, we finally get to talk about Bow and Meow, because a couple people theorized that the reason for why they haven't returned in Animal Crossing is probably because the products they're based off of, the Bowlingle and the Meowlingle, failed and were discontinued, which in turn could mean the same happened to Bow and Meow. Or maybe because the creators of the toys didn't want their concept to be used in Animal Crossing. But I hope someday we could see them return in some kind of update. I think that'd be pretty cool. But for this final theory, I'm gonna be honest, I'm just gonna read it, because check this out. While the robotic villagers were all introduced in the original Animal Crossing, this would explain the newer models as they were introduced canonically after the numbered duo, as well as why Dell, the only new model active, is a much more cleaner model. As to why they were built, I think their interests are more on point than you'd expect. Sprocket was likely designed to be a robot that was effective at traversing lower gravity areas, specifically the moon. This fits with the frog theming, as most common depictions and footage of people on the moon are seen as if they are hopping. Sprocket was probably designed as an animatronic band member, as a popular mascot choice for Chuck E. Cheese is most obvious, and FNAF, of course. As for Meow and Bark, it's okay, we all make typos. I'll just refer to Bow. They were probably designed to test out more advanced AI that allowed them to socialize, but were later brought back and scrapped, RIP, due to having their purpose fulfilled. And this is where it gets really good, trust me. Dell is likely the newest model, being built much more compact and more sturdy than the previous robot builds. It's likely he was designed to be able to withstand fires and being crushed by falling debris. Him having a subsistence life choice is likely implemented to make it so if they were incapable to return safely or trapped for an extended period of time, they could survive easily. Basically a permanent low power mode, and those vents on Dell are likely a cooling function. See, now tell me that doesn't sound like Tip just took a statement from the Wikipedia page and copied and pasted it here as a comment. See, this is some good stuff. This I like. However, I'm not done with the comment yet, because after that, you ask, who made them? And well, I think we should finally get to that. Who built the robot villagers? That's the question that started this all, and to be completely honest, I may disappoint you. I still don't have a definitive answer to all of this myself, but that's why we're here, to look at the comments and see what they have to say. And I'm going to try my best to get to as many as possible, so let's see what you guys have to say. And to start off, we have a few comments saying that Cobb could have built them. And Immortal Absol adds to that by saying that he's an academic and his house reflects that. And in Happy Home Designer, he requests a research lab. And in Pocket Camp, his requests are a complex machine and a lab chair, which are very strong indicators that he could be the creator if he's using those things in his house. I mean, just taking a look at the lab chair, that definitely seems like something was given life sitting there. And I don't even know what the complex machine even is, just take a look at it. So could Cobb possibly be the creator? I don't know. Because up next, we have quite a few people saying that, surprisingly, Dell could have been the creator of the robot villagers. I know that doesn't seem like it would make too much sense, because he's a robot villager after all, but like the comments say, it could have been before Dell got his cybernetic upgrades, if he is a cyborg. Or maybe he's just misleading everybody, and secretly planning to take over the world Dr. Robotnik style. This next theory is quite interesting because it involves magic creating the robot villagers, as Leo Geo states. Otherworldly power holders such as Katrina, Serena, and Old Man Farley could have breathed life onto some old parts and maybe created the villagers. Or perhaps even a supernatural extraterrestrial phenomenon could have created the villagers. such as aliens that sent down the robot villagers to observe us, considering they are canon, and Gulliver probably is an alien. But for the final culprit, we have Tom Nook, which many people have said since he could have built the robot villagers to inflate the villager count, or even hired somebody to build them for some kind of business scheme, or maybe even perhaps we don't know who the creators of the robot villager are yet. There's so many different characters and some with great evidence who could be the creator of the robot villagers, but in the end, it's honestly all up to speculation. And that's how it is always going to be. There's so many other villagers out there who people have also talked about, such as Rattle or even Gaston, that could have been the creators. And what are the possibilities that the creator of the robot villager just built them to have friends? Which in turn could mean Dell could have built Sprocket and Ribbot so he wouldn't be alone. See, if only we had more exclusive dialogue for each villager to get some kind of backstory to all of them, because until then, it's all speculation. And that's fine, because until we find some kind of concrete evidence of who could truly be the creator of the robot villagers, I feel as if we still don't know who it could be, so I don't really think there's a definitive answer as of yet. It could be Cobb with his scientific academic background, with all his mad scientist gear in Pocket Camp that he requests. It could be Tom Nook with some kind of business scheme, but that means he would have to have this planned ever since the first game, because that's when the first 2 robot villagers were introduced. Or maybe it could even be aliens from what we all know. But once again, I have to ask, what do you think? Who is the creator of the robot villagers? Did any of these new discoveries help with any kind of concrete evidence to determine who is the creator? What new discoveries have you made that we still don't know about? And if you have anything to add to this heaping pile of speculation for the robot villagers in Animal Crossing, make sure you comment down below. And once again, for all of you who commented, thank you. I appreciate it. I love looking through comments. And I'm very sorry that, like I said, I wasn't able to look at every single one and get to every single one. Maybe someday, if I'm determined enough, I'll just make like an hour-long montage of getting to every single comment. Who knows? We'll see. This is something I've sort of never really done, but I do want to. Just looking back at the comments to see what you guys have to say for Have You Ever Wondered? But that's that. This video took me quite a while to make, so I would really appreciate if you would, subscribe if you enjoyed, hit that bell icon to get notified, and hey, maybe go follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and join our Discord if you'd like. But with that being said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you later.